I'm Dennis Bragg in Missoula. This long-running fire season turning out to be a test of how the Forest Service issues fire tanker contracts.
Plus, with a seat on Montana's High Court at stake, we hear from the contenders. And later,
you're hearing about a possible vaccine for the coronavirus in the works. But did you know that vaccine does not include children? I'm Annie Johnson with all the details coming up.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for making MTN your choice for news. I'm Tim McGonigal. Keely Van Mittendorp is off tonight. In less than 2 hours, the Blackfeet Nation will start a 2-week stay-at-home order in hopes of stopping the spread of coronavirus. Today, the tribe announced restrictions that will be enforced during the quarantine. Here are some of the highlights. The stay-at-home order begins at 11:59 p.m. It's for all residents of the reservation. People engaged in activities including house parties, loitering, and soliciting are subject to a $500 fine. Approved activities include obtaining medical services, food or medicine, or to engage in spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Social distancing of 6 feet while wearing a mask will be enforced with the exception of members of the same household. Indoor gatherings will be limited to household members or approved cohorts. Spiritual gatherings in close contact will be limited to virtual and remote attendance. Masks will be required at all times in public, and a curfew will be enforced from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. each day until the stay-at-home order expires on October 13th. We have the complete list of restrictions on our websites. According to the Blackfeet COVID-19 Incident Command Facebook page, as of this afternoon, there are 133 active cases on the reservation. Well, the operator of the Crossroads Correctional Center in Shelby says 26 inmates at the prison have tested positive for COVID-19. According to a news release from prison operator Core Civic, the prison tested 196 inmates. Of the more than 24 who tested positive, none showed symptoms of coronavirus. Prison officials conducted the testing of inmates and detainees on Thursday and Friday of last week. Core Civic says inmates who tested positive for the virus or who may have come in contact with positive cases have been quarantined. The company did not say whether any prison staff had tested positive for COVID-19. The 700-bed Crossroads Correctional Center is the state's only private prison. In Helena, public school leaders have confirmed their first COVID-19 cases of this school year. As of this afternoon, they reported 3 cases associated with students at Rossiter, Central, and Broadwater elementary schools, and 1 associated with a staff member at Rossiter. Helena Public Schools Superintendent Tyler Ream says the district has been working closely with Lewis and Clark Public Health to investigate possible COVID-19 cases. He says their goal is to be as transparent as possible while protecting privacy.
If a parent is saying, this is a positive associated with my child confirmed by a health official or a health professional, then we consider that to be confirmation.
Ream says after public health confirms a case, they'll determine whether any other students or staff are close contacts who need quarantining for 14 days. Ream says the district hopes measures like smaller in-person classes and mandatory masking will reduce the spread. Well, in Great Falls, a man has been charged with attempting to sexually assault a young girl, and police have reason to believe that there may be other victims. Court documents state that a person told the police that a suspicious man, later identified as 60-year-old Gerard Michael Larson, was watching a couple of 10-year-old girls from an orange Chevy truck in the street. The person who made the report notified a parent of one of the girls who said that Larson had given one of the children gifts and wanted the child to see his camper. In a forensic interview, the girl said Larson bought her bracelets and necklaces and described feeling uncomfortable when she was in the camper. GFPD says Larson's criminal history shows a 2004 conviction for unlawful transactions with children. Anyone with information about other possible victims is asked to call police. You can read more on this case on our website. As the West record fire season scorches its way into the fall, air tanker operators like the Missoula-based Neptune Aviation are continuing to scramble to protect communities from the air. This season is also proving to be a major test of the Forest Service's approach to call tankers as needed rather than keeping them available on exclusive contacts. MTN's Dennis Bragg explains.
With fires still forcing thousands from their homes in California, 2020 is a real pressure point for the country's fire protection services. Already forced to adapt by the pandemic, the record heat along the coast is pushing the available resources to the breaking point. And in the skies overhead, a test of the U.S. Forest Service's approach, bringing tankers on call when needed, rather than exclusive use contracts. Tanker operators have struggled with a system where the Forest Service doesn't reserve tankers but calls for them as fires rage. It's an approach tanker companies have protested, a point I asked U.S. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue about when he visited Missoula this summer.
In federal contracting, it seems like you always get protests. We think we got a good story, and we think it'll prevail. We think the as-needed contract will work.
For operators like Neptune Aviation, call when needed keeps them busy, but trying to work around uncertainty.
It does create some challenges for us as a company from a planning standpoint, because realistically we still need to invest in our training and maintenance for the airplanes, irrespective of what kind of fire season we're going to have. Last year was a perfect example. A very quiet fire season. We still had to produce everything necessary to go out and perform for a much shorter time period.
And the numbers are significant. 20 years ago, 40 or more tankers would have been under exclusive use contracts. In recent seasons, that's dropped to a fourth of that total. This year it was just 13 until the Forest Service added 11 more, but used unusual 90-day call when needed exclusive use contracts. Contracts were originally set to expire in September and early October. Perdue believes call when needed saves taxpayers money by being more efficient.
We think it's the right balance between owned assets and exclusive use assets, and then a call when needed a ratio. It's like any public safety kind of thing. You can never have enough access for everything everywhere. You have to surge.
In Missoula, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Well, many of us saw sunshine today. Will it continue? For a first look at the forecast, we send it to Curtis Grevenitz.
Well, good Monday evening, everybody. Boy, it was a windy weekend and in some places a windy Monday. But I was up on the Beartooth Highway, actually the Hell Roaring Plateau, over the weekend. I know some of you were wondering, what's the weather like up there? Well, boy, it was windy and snowy, and the highway up over the Beartooth Pass was actually shut down by the Department of Transportation. A couple of cars got stuck, and the plows couldn't even plow the snow because it was just so heavy and dense. But that's a little wintry look. This week, though, a beautiful week here with fantastic fall weather. Really, we'll have sunshine and comfortable temperatures. However, a problem, it's been dry as a bone, and it will be dry as a bone this week through the weekend. I don't really see any major storms anytime soon, and because of that, fire season, could go late, and it could be long. I'll have more of the full forecast coming up a little later on in the show.
All right, thanks, Curtis. Well, yesterday we told you about the challenges many Native Americans in Montana face participating in the democratic process. There is one organization that's helping the Native population make their voice heard. Western Native Voice is a nonprofit organization in Billings that's dedicated to helping Native populations in the state participate in the democratic process. But since the pandemic hit, they've had to change things up. In a normal year, Executive Director Marcy McLean and her staff would be in communities knocking on doors, registering people to vote, and helping them fill out their census forms. Western Native Voice has turned to drive-through get counted centers and phone calls, but losing those face-to-face interactions has other consequences.
We're not able to do the canvassing and knocking on doors and having the deep conversations with people that form allies for the long term. We're able to reach people through media and through phone calls and text messaging, but we're missing out on that face-to-face, in-person conversations.
Marcy says she expects there will be a get counted drive-through center, which will rotate between the tribal nations somewhere in Montana every day between now and the end of October. Meanwhile, tonight, multiple national media outlets are reporting U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is saying the census will end October 5th, despite a federal judge ruling last week that it would continue through the end of October. Candidates for Montana's only contested state Supreme Court on the 2020 ballot mixed it up this past weekend in a debate broadcast on MTN's Face the State. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison has more on the debate between Supreme Court Justice Lori McKinnon and her challenger, Helena attorney Mike Black.
Black didn't wait long to challenge McKinnon in Sunday's debate, saying some of her opinions have favored landowner interests that campaigned for her election to the High Court in 2012.
When public uses come up against other property rights, she has consistently ruled against public rights to use property with respect to access.
McKinnon, who's running for a second 8-year term on the court, said she had nothing to do with the group that supported her, and that she decides cases based on the law and the facts before the court.
I had no association at all with the independent expenditures that came into the election in 2012, and Mr. Black is implying that my vote was bought as a sitting justice. That's a pretty strong accusation to make.
Black also said he believes Montana's unique constitutional right to privacy has made the right to an abortion settled law in the state, and asked if McKinnon agreed. McKinnon said Black should know that no ethical judge would answer that question, and thus prejudge a case before it's argued.
You have to look at the case that comes in front of you, review the arguments. There's always nuances to everything, and I would never say how I would rule in a case in the future.
McKinnon said her 8 years of experience on the high court make her the best choice, and that she doesn't bring politics into any of her decisions.
I'm not a political person. I'm not a politician. I have never contributed to any campaign, and I think that fair and impartial nature is absolutely critical to a justice on the Supreme Court.
Black said he has experience that very few of the current Supreme Court justices have, working on complex cases representing wealthy and non-wealthy clients.
What I bring to the court is somebody who has fought it out in the trenches against some of the best lawyers in Montana and outside of Montana. There's nobody on the court that has the type of civil litigation background that I have on complicated cases.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
If you missed that debate Sunday, you can still watch it on our website. Justice McKinnon and Mike Black will debate again this Thursday in Helena. That debate will be available on the Montana Public Affairs Network. Coming up, 2 local strangers jump into action when they find a man in need in the middle of the road. We'll tell you how that story is coming up.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. It's no secret doctors and researchers are currently conducting trials for a vaccine for the coronavirus, but did you know that many of those trials do not include vaccines for children? MTN's Annie Johnson joins us with the latest information.
It's a big topic because it affects the ones you love the most, your children, your kids. You don't want them to get the coronavirus, but what's there to know about the children's vaccine?
Most drug trials start off with adults first, and then they may do safety profiles in adults, and then they'll move into pregnant women and also children at the same time.
Bozeman Health is working with a pharmaceutical company to find a vaccine for the virus for adults.
You can give everyone these vaccines, so we've given it to like 120 some people in our area. Does it actually prove immunity to the virus? I mean, this is what the whole trial is about.
But as a parent, why might you consider vaccinating your child, especially if symptoms may not be as severe?
Because they're the ones who spread it to their grandparents. And so if you vaccinate children, just like the flu, not that many children, have severe flu-like symptoms, but they're the ones who give it to the older adults when they come at Christmas and visit.
And the million-dollar question is, how safe would this new prevention be?
I mean, right now I can tell you the safety data for the adults is actually very, very good, right up there with all the other vaccinations that are available to both kids and adults. So extrapolating that to children, it's going to be just as safe in children as it is for adults.
And after safety is established, the doctor believes a children's vaccine won't take long to find.
It'll go very quickly because they've proven safety, and that's the biggest thing.
The vaccine Dr. Gentry is talking about is through a company called Pfizer, only one of about 5 possible vaccines currently being worked on. Reporting at Bozeman Health, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
A Great Falls man whose weekly talks became a popular staple at a local coffee shop has passed away. Dennis Van Hook died of cancer last week. He started holding the talks on Tuesdays earlier this year when he was told he only had a year left to live. The talks covered a wide range of topics. They would often be attended by a dozen or more people.
Dennis was a regular customer, but he was also a character. Everybody that knew Dennis knew that he always had a funny story or a twist that he could put on a story that would either make you feel good or shine a different light on whatever you were talking about.
A sign made for the talks will now be on permanent display in honor of Dennis. One man is recovering after being saved by strangers when he was having a medical emergency in the middle of the road. It happened around midnight Sunday at the intersection of 5th Avenue North and 4th Street North in Great Falls. A mother and daughter-in-law were coming home from a night out. They saw the man as they drove up to the intersection. Tina Rains got out to help the man while her daughter-in-law called 911. They say the man was covered in blood and having seizures and was almost run over by 2 cars.
It freaked both of us out really bad. But we came at the right time. You know, like I was saying, the Lord told us there was something there. It's something there. Hey, you know, click, click, you know, and it sure clicked in our heads. And we felt it right here in our gut, and Sean was right there.
And the women hope to be able to get in touch with the man's family to see how he is recovering.
Well, a big area of high pressure right over the western United States and the eastern Pacific is not going anywhere anytime soon. I'll have more in the full forecast coming up next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Greveness.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. Last night, the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights were out, and perhaps they could be out again tonight, especially for those that live up along the High Line or closer to the Canadian border. Take a look. Might be able to see a couple of lights out there. 65 degrees in Helena. Probably a little too far south for the capital area to see the northern lights. Great Falls, specifically Belt and Geyser, looking off towards the north, you might be able to see some of the Aurora Borealis. 58 degrees in the Electric City right now. Look at these numbers. It was chilly this morning. Cut Bank, though, at 61 degrees. What is going on? Well, there is a little Chinook wind that is developing here, and you can see that wind up to 24 miles per hour sustained in Cut Bank, and we're going to keep the wind going here through the night and into tomorrow. Thankfully, it's not as bad as last weekend, but we will have a bit of wind tomorrow and a wind shift in the afternoon as a cool front comes into the state. I'm going to call it a cool front because it really doesn't get very cold. It just will drop the temperatures back close to average. And then for Wednesday, a very windy day in the eastern part of the state. Nothing really going on the radar, and I've plotted some of the technically still active wildfires, although no new acreage and no growth on those fires. The only growth really is the containment that continues to go up. Well, it's been dry out west, and it will be dry here throughout Montana, throughout the Rockies, all the way to the west coast, but very wet, stormy, and cool on the east side of the country. California still dealing with devastating wildfires. We're under red flag warning for parts of California and Oregon. Again, the wildfires in Montana have shown very little activity, although technically they are still burning here. Big ridge of high pressure keeping all the smoke from the California wildfires down to the south, and this pattern is not going to change anytime soon. Watch the moisture in the clouds going up and over the top of Montana and then down through the northern plains and into the Great Lakes here. So for tomorrow, it's a mostly sunny day, a little on the breezy side. Minor little front going through early on Wednesday will cool the temperatures down, but hardly any precipitation anywhere near the state over the next several days, all the way into October. Here we go, the first weekend of October, and it looks sunny, dry, and warm. Tonight, warmer than last night, that's for sure. Lows will be in the 40s to near 50 degrees. All these numbers are above average, even showdown at 36, and some of the areas near the Helena capital will be down into the 30s. For tomorrow, here comes this cold front, the cool front, later into the afternoon, a wind shift and slightly cooler. Havre and Glasgow, but still right around 80 degrees. Great Falls, 77 in Lewistown for Wednesday. Windy in eastern Montana, and the temperatures will go down closer to average, highs in the 60s to about 70 degrees, but still sunny and dry. Partly sunny and dry here on Thursday, 60s and 70s, and then into Friday. Very nice day with temperatures once again into the upper 60s and lower 70s with mostly sunny skies. Here's the 7-day forecast for Helena. Nice day tomorrow, a little breezy in the afternoon, slightly cooler on Wednesday, but not a drop of rain or a flake of snow anytime soon. Sunday and Monday, warm and windy, especially on Monday. We'll have to watch the fire danger. And for Great Falls, 80 degrees tomorrow. A little afternoon breeze kicking up to 20 miles per hour. Cooler on Wednesday, but still nice. And we're in the 70s all the way into the first weekend of October.
Well, it's that time to count down the week's best plays. Coming up, the latest edition of MTN's Game Changers.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, even in the middle of an unprecedented fall sports season, athletes have put up some incredible performances through 5 weeks of high school football. Tom Wiley has this week's edition of MTN Game Changers.
It might not feel like it, but we have surpassed the halfway point of the high school football season, and the best teams and players have separated themselves from the pack, posting highlight reel performances that should carry through the postseason. First off, Cece enjoyed her first visit to Zoo, Montana. We saw tigers, we saw bears, wolves, and her favorite, the owls. Oh, cool. At number 5, Laurel and Central. Battle of rival undefeated teams here. Marcus Whitman to Junior Brackenridge. What a great catch with the defense draped all over him. Central wins 28-14. Number 4, Twin Bridges and Joliet. Jayhawks waste no time in this one. This is Rye Brostra. Makes a few Falcons players miss, and he will house the opening kickoff. Joliet wins 62-12. At number 3, this one's user submitted. Ennis and Absorki. Watch Tyler Suchetti with the interception on the defensive line, and he takes it in for a pick 6. Mustangs win 46-14. At number 2, Belgrade and Billings Senior. Panthers didn't score a whole lot, but this one was awfully pretty. Double reverse leads to a pass. Aiden Colbeck deep to Cedric Miller for the touchdown, but Senior wins 59-21. And at number 1, Huntley Project and Red Lodge tied at 27 with just seconds left. Wiley Linden to Strand Selman in the end zone as time expires. That is your game winner, folks, and Project wins 33-27. If we missed any top plays from over the weekend and you have video of it, please send it to us at sports@krtv.com or on the montanasports.com Facebook or Instagram pages. Reporting from Great Falls, Tom Wiley, MTN Sports.
And don't go away, we'll be right back.
All right, last check of the 7-day forecast here. 80 tomorrow, slightly cooler for Wednesday with highs across a lot of the state back down into the 60s, but that's really not that bad. In the 70s through the end of the week, which is the beginning of October, and the first weekend of October really does look nice with temperatures right near 80.
But I'm afraid they'll know it. Yes, I'm afraid I'll show it.
Well, finally tonight, that is 99-year-old Bertha Cassing from Great Falls and her grandson. He came all the way from New York City to see her and sing to her at Benefice Nursing Home. Due to COVID-19, they had to share this special moment through a barrier, but still a great moment nonetheless, as Bertha will be turning 100 in just a couple of months. Beautiful moment to end the newscast. That's all the time we have. Have a great night.